Greetings and thanks for joining us once again. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Today's talk focuses on something we call the Tesla Semi Blitz plan. So, as you know, the Semi has arrived. We've only seen examples of it in the hands of Pepsi and their subsidiary Frito-Lay with chips. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Thanks once again for joining us. If this is your first time, welcome. If you're a repeat visitor, welcome back. We also want to thank our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the show, would like better ideas on investing and trading, please join us on Patreon. So the thing that's been going on is that we typically do one show a week focused on the Semi. In this case, we're focused on what's going on with the Semi. So we've kind of done some research to determine the status of things. And what we learned was somewhat strange. And that is that from what we've been seeing, or our expectation was that Tesla's production of the Semi would now start ending up in the hands of more customers rather than just Frito-Lay and Pepsi. And so we've been eagerly keeping our eyes peeled for when other customers that have paid the full retail price for the vehicle would start getting those vehicles. And we thought that that would be happening now. So the answer is no. Those vehicles are not going to end users. And yes, they are being produced. So the question that comes up is, if they're not going to customers and they're being produced, where are they and why? Well, the answer to that question is that Tesla is a multi-thousands of truck entity. They own at least 1,000 ICE vehicles in the trucking space. And in terms of use of vehicles, they're probably on a daily basis using somewhere in the 1,000 to 2,000 vehicle zone based on the movement of parts into factories and the movement of finished product out to all manner of customers sort of in different ways. So this presents the question then, it turns out that the first customer that's getting the most of the Tesla Semis produced are actually the internal Tesla customer. And so when we kind of found this out, I was like, whoa, very strange. It makes sense to have the vehicles in large quantities in-house and doing a lot of work prior to ending up in customer hands. For end users that will be getting their vehicles, they also have more of an opportunity beyond the Pepsi fleet and now the Tesla fleet to really get an opportunity to make sure that the vehicle will meet their needs. The third piece of this is, well, wait a second, what about these folks that have been waiting for 4 years for their vehicles? I just found this to be totally a shocker. And then why are we rolling down the Blitzkrieg sort of trail? A couple of clues that I've seen about this are, number one, Sandy Munro has actually collected funds from folks that watch his show in preparation for buying and then taking apart a Semi so that all the innovation that's gone on there can be shared with the Sandy Munro customers who are paying for that information. So that vehicle, based on how disruptive it will be and is already in the trucking space, is dramatic and going to get really huge. And so I can see why folks are very much interested in getting access to this vehicle. So I have to say I'm a little bit shocked for a number of reasons. Number one, we still have a full 100 units to get to Pepsi, 36 of which they currently have. Number two, there's some very well-heeled and powerful entities like Walmart and other giant companies with a lot of lawyers who've paid their freight and have not been able to get their hands on the vehicle yet. So this also brings up sort of my next point is a discussion of a blitzkrieg. So as you know, the term has shown up in a lot of places. Um, Probably the most famous, I think, is um, the German blitzkrieg, in which they actually um, do large numbers of uh, attacking vehicles uh, coming from different places at the enemy, and the speed with which they attack affects the ability of the enemy to respond. So one of the huge sort of problems that is going on right now for Tesla in the trucking space is that once a company has established a relationship with a provider in the trucking space, it's likely that after that first block of vehicles arrive, there are going to be a large number of orders that go with that. So the challenge is if Tesla starts delivering vehicles in small numbers to a large number of customers, you have the potential for that vehicle to be reverse engineered. And then for the other customers that are not those initial, you'll all of a sudden have whatever the innovations are that are being used in the semi, in theory, showing up with competitors and therefore affecting how many potential users slash customers will actually get the semi. So I I think the idea of Tesla doing a blitzkrieg process where they build a lot of vehicles, primarily use them internally as their own customer, and then switch from there once they have large numbers of vehicles ready, delivering those large numbers of vehicles to a number of their customers all at the same time. I think it definitely makes sense, but um, I guess I'd have to say I'm a little confused because it definitely makes sense for Tesla to do this. But the problem, though, is, again, how do you deal with those customers that have already paid full price for large numbers of vehicles and haven't seen any in their possession yet? And so obviously Tesla has an answer to this. Those customers have an answer to this. I'd have to say if I were going to take a stab at it, I would argue that the problem that's going on right now is the Tesla Semi is offering double the range at almost half the price, so 250K a vehicle, and they're offering 500 miles of range where most of their competitors are offering 250-mile range, and not only offering a higher price, but they're offering a smaller payload of weight that can be carried. So if you add it all up, Tesla is pretty much a half-price semi compared to all the competitors. And so I really think it makes a lot of sense for those vehicles to stay in the hands of only their best customers and then get distributed in large numbers when those large numbers are available. So I'd have to say that this leaves a lot of questions lurking out there. For example, um, it's a in theory, it's about 5 parts. There's a battery pack, obviously there's the drivetrain, and so let's say 5 major parts that go into the semi when you're putting it together. Well, this raises an interesting point because in theory, it should be, if it's automated, it'll be a fairly quick build, particularly if you're building the external of the truck elsewhere and then moving it into the factory and just installing motors, battery pack, etc. So it's just not that many parts that are being installed, which means Tesla theoretically should be able to push a lot of these vehicles out quickly. And then I guess the final thing that I would note is that Tesla / Elon has stated that they're planning on selling 50,000 vehicles next year. And right now, from what we can tell, we're at about 100 units a month being produced. And in theory, we should get that number higher latter part of the year as we enter this target of 50,000, which sounds like about, let's call it, it could be 10,000 a month, let's say 5,000, 6,000 vehicles a month is what Elon seems to have given out. And he hasn't said when this would start at that larger pace. So I bring all this up to you today because um, we're, in theory, preparing for very large numbers of vehicles to be distributed rapidly. And currently, we actually are seeing very small numbers of vehicle that are delivered to internal customers. So I think it's great that the vehicle is being delivered. I'm a little bit worried about, well, you know, how do customers get these up and rolling if they're not even getting initial units they can work with? But Tesla does have the problem of trying to protect intellectual property. So I guess I could actually see both sides of this argument and sort of embrace it in the process. As a Tesla fan, I'd have to say I'm just hoping they don't get big time sued for all the delays that have occurred as customers are trying to make the transition to electric trucks as well. So we very much look forward to your comments on this. I was kind of surprised for the reasons I stated, and we actually look forward to keep our process going of our weekly Tesla semis, and look forward to any suggestions or ideas you guys have of things that we should also consider covering. So next we move on to our health tips. I have to say that I've been doing the 20 minutes a day of some kind of walking or aerobics, and I can see the benefits of it, but I wanted to encourage you to try it as well because I think there's a lot of benefits that come out of it, even if you have to stretch a lot more because of the exercise that you're engaging in. Um, Obviously, we have the rest of our list of health tips below and I encourage you to review them. This is Greg for Teslafaninsight. Tschüss, au revoir, lehit hoda hafez, zdradzice, ni hao ma, konbanwa, arrivederci, namaste. And in Jamaica, we say enough respect, walk good man. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day and bye for now.